I'm Warren Bird with Reggie McNeal, and following up this Raising Your Collaborative Intelligence webinar. And we got all these questions, and one block of them had to do with kind of the logistics. Like, okay, if I am going to be more collaborative, is that going to take more time to raise people up to speed? Well, yes.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And that's a good way of saying it. There are logistical implications if you don't create the margin or the environment where actually collaboration can grow and develop, then you're going to kill it. So the first answer is yes, it's going to take more time. And I usually tell people that even though it's more time on the front end, typically it will save time in the long run because people are more vested in the decision, they're more vested in the implementation, and you're not having to do as much explaining because they're already into whatever it is that you're doing because they were a part of it. So.
And they then recruit others. So you talked on the webinar when the focus was on city impact, that if it's a church that's coming from another community wanting to have city impact, well, the wisdom of partnering with people who are already there, who already know that community, and through the networking of building the relationship, bringing buy-in, training people, that inherently is going to bring more people from the actual community and more perspective.
And I want to come back to this whole community application of collaboration in just a little bit, but for an internal team, for instance, the logistics, bringing volunteers into the mix, a lot of questions about that, or different generations like millennials, and I made the comment there in the webinar that millennials are more bent toward collaboration because they've been raised up that way, team learning and everything else. Volunteers, if you view volunteers as more than functionaries to get stuff done, I mean, if they're just extensions of staff so that you can have leverage like that, then there's hardly any really need to practice collaboration with them.
And that's a really low view of Ephesians 4, 11, and 12 to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry.
But just in case these are people we're also trying to develop, that these volunteers actually are people themselves, their capacity to enter in at a deeper level is going to unleash so much more social capital. And it's going to unleash emotional investment. It's going to release spiritual energy in them, and then through them to whatever the project is or projects that you're trying to do. And it just treats them as so much greater respect. But having said that, the logistical implication of that is they have to actually know what's going on, rather than calling a meeting and announcing to them, here's, I brought the tablets in and these are the implications of it, and Fred, we need you to, now, maybe if it's getting parked cars on and off the parking lot, that may be one issue, but I'm talking about, although even collaborative input from the people who are doing it.
You're saying even in the shaping of the agenda.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they should be a part of that, I think. I mean, you're going to have a better functioning place. You're going to have a larger leadership bench. You're going to have much more buy-in, emotional and spiritual buy-in. But the logistical implication of that is you actually have to tell people what's going on. So communication, which we mentioned in seminar, is the lifeblood of this whole thing of collaboration. You have to tell people, and you make this suggestion even in your book with teams, tell them ahead of time what the meeting's about. There's no need to waste their time by telling them, here's why we're here today.
Well, yes, a pre-planned meeting is usually a better meeting.
With an agenda that says, these are the things that we're going to, there's no decision to be made, we just want to discuss it for 15 minutes. We need a decision on this, information only, if that's an item that the city's just passed a new ordinance and we need to tell folks about it. That's information. We don't collaborate around. But, and so you just list this stuff so you don't waste people's time, but you save the bulk of the energy and the agenda for them to actually have an impact on whatever it is you're trying to get done.
And just to underscore something that we discussed in the webinar, so often churches get dinged for not communicating well. So they think, oh, communication equals getting everybody on the same page and bringing everybody up to speed. That's really only the beginning of communication. Right. Then working together, making decisions together, not just advising, but owning the decision, and then together implementing the decision where possible and reasonable and meaningful. That's part of communication. Now, you worked with Eric Swanson on a number of projects at Leadership Network about city reaching and related stuff, where he has this grid that for bringing people in. And one is start with small bite commitments, which then lead to larger commitments, and start with one-time frequency, which can lead ultimately to long-term frequency. And that's a very helpful paradigm for working with volunteers, bringing them in their level of ownership skill, and letting them find where is their area of strength and passion and what they're good at.
Well, and that's just a rule of human behavior that works. It's scalable inside a congregation as well as out in the community. So yes, it is very insightful. And I hate to give Eric credit for anything, but that was insightful.
Great. Well, with our special reference to Eric Swanson, we've been talking about the
we kept out of this webinar for good reason.
of raising your collaborative intelligence with Reggie McNeal.
This is going to be edited, right,
and
Warren?
Warren Bird. I hope so.